Yeah. Let me drop exclusive game from my exclusive mind. You be out here chasing fame, I stay steady on my grind. Zero diamonds, zero.
Thank you for tapping into the Exclusive Minds podcast. Today we're going to be having an exclusive conversation with exclusive content from Exclusive Minds. I'm your host, Rook, and
Joe.
Let's get right into it.
Well, let's do this, and let's do that. Okay, doke. I think we're off and running, yeah.
Sweet.
There's got to be a way to turn all three of them on simultaneously, because it always makes it a problem for me to sync up the video, the audio. It's such a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
I
look pasty white.
I feel really positive for those people who do video editing and audio editing. It's not fun.
Video editing is like one of the craziest skills to have, because it's like there's a difference between being a good video editor and then being an efficient video editor. And if you're good and efficient, you're like,
yeah, bang it out.
You're just unbelievable. But.
So we're live. Sorry, man. We were just chatting. Welcome. This is 71, yeah. And we're back 2 weeks.
Well, so that's funny. I mean, I guess now that we're started, I didn't talk really much to Joe before we started, but I don't really have a lot to talk about.
Oh, great.
No, I kind of do. No, I do, but I don't. It was more so coming over here to bro, consistency is almost the most important thing. Yeah. And it was like, all right, it's been 2 weeks. I'm coming over no matter what. Essentially, you know what I mean? So I guess that could be the underlining discussion of the podcast. But yeah, I was like, man, consistency is more the important thing. But there's a lot of stuff we can talk about actually from the 2 weeks. I mean, starting with the one and the obvious with your hat right there.
My Trump hat. Yeah, we were talking about this last week, right? So
there you go. Now you actually have it on.
Yeah.
No, but how
did you? By chance, did you watch any of the debate?
I watched the whole thing.
Did you really?
I watched the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, because so.
But I mean, generally speaking, your generation. I mean,
no, they care about it now.
Do they?
Yeah, now they do. Yeah, everyone I talked to in my friend group watched it. We actually held a watch party on Discord.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
okay.
we watched it and. Yeah, wow. It was one of the things that kind of started off the night was the 1,000 trillionaires or something like that. That was kind of brought up.
Dude. And
listen, I'm not a political person, but kind of just going off a riff real quick. I mean, you have one guy who's fabricates the truth quite a bit, and then you have another guy who's just old, and you could really see that he's old and kind of not senile, but on the cusp of getting there, and it's just because of age, you know what I mean? But yeah, it was a tough watch to watch on both things. They were talking about golf at one point. It was just they're just absolutely going completely off the rocker. But I think if I were to say from my perspective, it looked like Trump had the slight advantage. I would say
slight advantage, really. I mean, honestly,
I would say that. Slight of subjective. I would say probably he definitely won the debate. No.
So I'm actually kind of curious because you just mentioned that. So you have this perception that Trump lies or was lying throughout the entire debate.
No, it's not what I said. Not lying throughout.
You said one lies a lot and one is really old.
Correct.
And I'm assuming Biden is the old one, and
Biden
you think Trump lies. And I'm
in generally speaking.
Okay, but why? I'm curious of why you say that.
Just because he has some crazy takes over the years. He's talked about.
There's embellishing and there's lying. And if you ask me, Biden is a chronic liar.
Okay, that's fair to say.
I mean, literally, I don't think that guy knows what the truth is. To be honest with you.
But then you have Trump, who's also talking at one point during COVID about. I mean, listen, I'm not even a Biden supporter.
Please don't tell me the bleach thing.
Exactly.
Okay, well, so that's horseshit.
I didn't watch.
He never said that.
From the clip that I seen, he did say it, right? He was talking about he's injecting yourself with bleach.
No, fuck that. No, take the whole thing in context.
Okay, what's the context?
I mean, you have to watch it. I
don't know either because it was so long ago. But they mentioned it briefly, and then on TikTok, it comes up, and it's oh, this thing. But then again, at the same time, I agree more so with Trump than I do Biden. So it's weird. I'm not going to try to sit here and play the devil's advocate of both sides, but to sit here and say that everything that Trump says is absolutely truth is just That's
the funny thing. I mean, this is the reason why political podcasts are probably the most popular podcasts. Because
there's so much to talk about.
There's so much to talk about.
I know, for sure.
And you know, it's so easy to have a conversation about this if you really wanted to, right? I mean,
I don't know too much about it. I can't sit here and bring up fact after fact, but I could just say that from the stuff that I've seen on my personal social media, which is curated by the stuff that I like and all that different type of stuff, it just seems some of the stuff that I've seen is taken maybe out of context. Like you're right, maybe it is taken out of context, but it's just a little bit weird. But I just wish that there was someone else in place.
It's like the Charlottesville thing. Like
what's the Charlottesville thing?
Like that Trump said, "Hey, there's good people on both sides," and like the neo-Nazis are good people or something like that. And it's like
I don't really. I heard him talk about it. They were talking about like people. Is that the woods thing they were talking about? They're like, oh, if they're coming out of the woods, and Biden.
Yeah,
he was talking about the woods. Okay, so I don't see. Like I said, like you probably have more knowledge of the full story of the politics
that's the thing.
thing.
Like I listen to political podcasts every freaking day, and more than one a day. Right.
Okay, fair enough. Where me, I don't.
I'm consuming a lot, and so I'm following it very closely, and obviously that gives me a different perspective on it. And it's interesting because I tend to think that everybody is in the know, right? I'm like,
no, that's not the case.
Like, why the fuck would people think that Trump said inject bleach? You know, I mean, where did that come? Like, how stupid can you be, right?
I mean,
and he didn't say it, and I'm like, oh
I would say
my god.
At face value, for the business person that he is and the intelligent person that I would think that he is, I couldn't just imagine him just simply saying straight up inject yourself or do it right. Like that just wouldn't make sense. However, do you believe that everything that he says in general is just 100% factual?
I think he's very factual. I think what he does is he embellishes it for, he inflates a lot of things, right? He makes it look like, hey, I'm the greatest thing.
And that's kind of what I should say.
And
versus saying
that's
a
not
liar.
necessarily lying. Most of it's based on truth, right? I mean, he just, maybe he takes more credit for stuff that he doesn't deserve, whatever it is, right? But I mean, he doesn't get up there and fucking Biden.
No. I think what you're talking about is like it's called like white lying, right? Like white lying versus like actual lying. Like actual lying is like if I were to sit up here and be like, "Yo, the sky's green," right?
Yeah.
Versus if I were to say the sky's pink. The sky could be pink at certain times of the day, but like there's a different aspect of it. So I guess that would be the more logical thing to say. I mean, they're both old as shit though. So I mean, like,
yeah, but look at the difference in
correct.
I know Trump's like what 78 years old, but dude, that guy gets around, man.
Yeah, he's pretty sharp.
I mean, honestly, God, I wish I want to be just like that dude when I'm that age. Whacking the ball around and just getting around, and
you probably kind of liked the golf talk then when they were kind of chatting it away.
Nah, I mean, look,
they just were one on a riff. I know it's probably easy to do when you're like, it's different because I don't know if they actually hate each other's guts.
Oh, I think they do.
You really think that?
I do now. I mean,
you think they actually hate each other's guts no matter what? Like even after this is all said and done, man. Because I was watching from both sides. Like I said, I'm not political, so I can't really sit here. Like you are clearly more involved with the political side of watching it and stuff like that. But like watching Biden's side and seeing how at points he just looked like clueless or just like maybe thinking or I don't know, or just like having like a blank stare on his face as he's like talking. It almost looks like he was reading off a teleprompter, but he's not.
It was terrible, man.
But then
it was terrible.
And then some of the facial expressions that also Trump was doing, like he does like the duck lips a lot, like the sitting stuff, and it's not necessarily bad things on that side. It's just more like funny versus the other side's a little bit more concerning. You know what I'm saying? So it's like more quirky versus concern of like okay. But yeah, I would if I could rephrase what I said in the beginning part, I would say probably someone who embellishes the truth more than the other person who's clearly older.
Yeah, I mean, look, I get it.
That's a fair take or no?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Trump, he's got a big ego, right? But that plays well in being the president of the United States. So, I mean, I don't know. Look, I mean, he doesn't bother me in the slightest. I know people just lose their shit. And I'm like, you know what? At the end of the day, I don't really care if he's braggadocious or, he has off-the-cuff remarks. It's really comes down to the world we live in, right? And how it is for me. And let's face facts. The last 3 years have been fucking horrific, right?
Right.
You're paying like
through the nose for groceries.
You're paying for everything. That's just crazy, right?
So now
bring Trump back.
And this is the last thing on the politics stuff. We can move on. But like you said, there's so much stuff there. But so going back to watching that, I did watch the whole thing. And the one part that I think was embellishing the truth, and I want to hear your take on it, is this is kind of where the lying part was with me. And it's probably, like you said, more just exaggeration. He said by what is it called? Like right before you're president, like the handoff period, like right before you're in office.
The transition,
like kind of like the transition, like right before, like if let's say Trump wins, he's not officially the president until X date.
Yeah, January.
Like
there's like that, 2 months between.
He was saying during that transition period, the stuff with Russia and Ukraine would basically
they'll solve the war.
So that was one of the things that was
but is that lying? I mean, it's not lying because it hasn't happened yet, right?
Okay.
That's bragging, right?
Braggadocious. That's what I'm talking about, though.
Okay, that's not lying, though. I mean, and who knows? I mean, honestly, who knows, right? Maybe all it takes is for some guy to get in there and go, dude, Zelensky, you're sitting in a room, Putin, you're sitting in a room, I'm sitting in a room, let's bang this bad boy out, right? And, look, will it happen? Who knows, right? I mean, that could be bragging, but that's not lying. That's
more so the stuff that I'm
puffing his chest up and saying, "Look at me, I'm great." Right?
Okay, so we clearly have a different definition of lying. So that's what I was talking about when I referenced lying.
Yeah, Biden going, "Oh, I inherited 9% inflation," is a lie, a blatant lie, right? I inherited 15% unemployment is a blatant lie.
Okay.
Right? And blaming Trump for all the stuff that has happened over the last 3 years is horseshit, right? Mm-hmm. Total lies, right? And he just spews it like it's like nothing.
I get what you're saying there. I think the other thing that I caught Biden kind of lying with was
he called his son's laptop Russian disinformation, right? And had all these intelligence people. Lies, right?
Yeah, sure.
It's all lies. Everything that guy says is a lie.
No.
Even when he's just talking about himself, it's lies, right? I mean,
so we were talking about the Trump side of it. Now going to the Biden side, he was talking about Trump calling like the vets like losers and
it's
whatever.
A total lie, right?
And it was in front of like the Star General, and that didn't sit well with me just because, again, lack of context. I have no idea what the hell they're talking about.
It's a total and utter lie.
Is there like a
one guy said it?
What's the scoop from your perspective?
Got kicked out of the Trump administration, right? So you had a disgruntled employee that's like, I got fired, so I'm going to start bad mouthing the company, right? Okay. And there were 20 other people in the room who go, that didn't happen. Okay. So it didn't happen.
It just happened to be a guy that was disgruntled was also higher on the totem pole than the other people.
He's a general, I guess. So it's possible. Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
That's kind of the part that I saw. So, like I said, I see both sides of the thing of both of their lies or whatever you want to call it. But I was just like, damn, this is interesting to see how this turns out. And then on Twitter,
just forget all of that, man. The dude's demeanor and the fact that he is fucking dead for all intents and purposes. I mean, I don't know what the hell. I mean, you vote for that guy, you're a fucking idiot. That's all I can say. I'm done. But
there you go. To the listeners, if you vote for that.
I mean, honestly, ask yourself if you're better off over the last 3.5 years, right?
I know.
And if you answer yes, I'd like to have a conversation with you to find out why. But I mean,
we should.
You probably invested in NVIDIA is probably why you're better off than you were 3.5 years ago. That's about the only way that you could be better off, right?
We should get someone who's more democratic on here, so we can like actually be like more like intelligent with the conversation. Because I'm, like I said, very middle of the road.
There's no intelligence on that side of the fence.
Oh gosh, okay.
Have you ever watched MSNBC or CNN?
I've never watched
CNN.
Either.
Yeah, I don't watch it either. But I mean,
I've never watched any of them.
There's no intelligence over there. So
no, I was actually pretty. So from the both of them, what I was kind of pretty impressed on. I
just alienated everybody. It's like we just lost 50% of our audience.
No, what I was pretty impressed by, though, what I will say, as to recap, it
people would be that might actually listen to this that we lost. I can't think of anybody. So, I don't know.
What I was impressed with by both of them was their lack of, like, I guess. Before, it was just constant over-talking one another, and they were both kind of like...
Yeah, they were controlling the microphones.
They were controlling the microphones, but like even when they turned the microphones off, they weren't like screaming across and
because they knew they couldn't be heard, so I guess that was enough to be like, okay, I'm not going to do it.
So that was good. That was good to see. I think that that was pretty good.
The actual format and even the moderators
were good too.
Weren't bad. Yeah. So, I mean...
I thought it was pretty interesting. But like I said, this was like the first piece of political thing that I watched from start to finish. was like what, like an hour and a half or 2 hours, something
2
like that.
2 hours, yeah.
It was, just interesting to hear. I was just getting fired up about it because
it's funny though. That, I mean, I'm actually kind of pleased that your crew watched it because I mean,
yeah, and we
there's
all kind
just
of
so many people that live in oblivion. Like, I mean, I don't want. I mean, there's just people, right? Who and I get it, right? You don't want to. Who cares about politics, right?
It's all rigged anyway.
I'm like thinking to myself, man, there's people that probably are on the outside looking in. And they're probably saying things like, "Oh my God, Trump, is a sexual predator and all this shit." And I'm like, if you actually spent any time like looking at what just transpired with like this last lawsuit, it's just unbelievable how like
I mean, I think
freaking sleazy the whole thing is.
I think it's funny how just like I don't know what the word would be. Loyal to a side that people could be without actually seeing on both sides. Like, you're obviously more Republican than Democrat, obviously. If there was someone who was, let's say, more intelligent than Trump and actually had better beliefs, would you just go against them automatically just because of the name Democrat, or would you actually hear them out versus...
No, I'd hear them out.
Okay, that's exactly right. But there's people who don't see that way. Versus,
oh no, I know. It's all or nothing, about. And there's no
correct. Exactly.
Yeah, that tends. I mean, look. I mean, that's the polarizing nature of politics today because of social media and all this other shit, right? And I fall into that same trap, right? I mean, I quite frankly think that if you're a Democrat, you're a fucking moron, right? I mean, it's harsh, right?
I'm sorry to all the Democratic viewers who are all three of them.
It, right?
I'm just kidding.
It's a stupid generalization because I mean I know I've actually got some friends who were heavy on the Democrat side, right? And they're not idiots, right? Mm-hmm. But I mean, generally speaking, my first knee-jerk reaction is because it's such a polarizing world we live in nowadays that it's just like, oh, okay, you're a Biden fan, you're an idiot, right? And there's no middle ground, and it's hard to come back from that.
Yeah,
like okay, I just called that guy an idiot. I get it. It's hard to now like
talk your way out of it.
Switch turn on the switch and actually have a conversation. It just gets heated so fast,
right?
Man.
I mean,
crazy.
It does get heated, and that's the correct thing. If you're able to have a conversation, which we just did for the past 15 minutes, I think that there's a way to kind of have a middle ground.
It's not possible in this world we live in with social media. It just isn't.
It also might be because I really just like don't care enough. Maybe I don't know. Like,
well, you should. That's the other problem.
Maybe I don't know. I do care. I guess I'm turning more into caring now that I'm like watching this stuff. But like,
and I'm not saying care about the politics.
Time,
this is where it all comes down to the if you can take the personal bullshit out, like the Biden or the Trump personal shit out. Look at the policies. That's all it really comes down to.
And all that,
and so we've had Trump in office for 4 years. We've had Biden in office for almost 4 years. Think about those periods of time and think about when you were better as in your world. Were you better when Trump was in office, or were you better over the last 3.5 years?
Biden was in office.
And I can only speak for myself. I was a hell of a lot better when Trump was in office.
2016 to 2020, 2020 to 2024 is the two timelines you're kind of comparing. Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I did see from on the Trump side, diving real quick back into it, they mentioned about the I'm sorry, what was that? The Roe v. Wade or Roe v. Wade, that abortion, kind of abortion thing, and they were like, he said something like, well, if it's like I don't know if you're allowed to say the R word on here without getting getting completely taken off the platform.
Who fucking cares?
Okay.
We don't.
But like rape, was it incest? There's something else, and he was like, basically, he's like, I agree that you shouldn't be penalized for doing it with those cases. Essentially,
so there's always been the general exceptions. So conservatives and liberals obviously have very different philosophies on
polarizing differences
on abortion, right?
Right,
and so you'll find that there is a segment of the conservative side that is just like no abortions at all, right? Period. None. Okay.
That's
there's also a rather larger majority of conservatives that basically say there should be no abortions with the exception of rape, incest, or what there was
the other one, medical
conditions where the mother could die.
Sure.
Right?
Yep.
And I don't. generally speaking, there aren't too many people that would argue that point, right? And that's not really the issue. The Democrats love to bring that up because it's a talking point, right? And it seems to be, again, they're trying to establish this all or nothing sort of scenario, and they're kind of like, they're using that as sort of the bait to the conversation. Like, look, the conservatives are going to put restrictions on abortion,
but now it's back down to the state, correct?
It's to the states.
Right.
That's really the whole thing with Roe v. Wade, right? It didn't make abortion illegal, right? It basically just said it's not a federal decision. The government can't just broadly paint strokes for that. So it should be the states that can make those decisions. So right now, if you live in New York, Illinois, or California, right, you can get abortions up until the point the baby's born, right?
Wow. Okay.
In Texas and Florida, you can't, right? There's more
like the trimesters,
you can still get it, but there's restrictions, right? They're like you can't do it after, I think it's 14 or 16 weeks or some timeline, right? But that's a state level decision.
You just described my biggest issue with it is all or nothing. That's the biggest problem.
It's not all or nothing.
Exactly. And that's my biggest problem is the people who say it's all or nothing. Like if you're automatically leaning on one side, you either have to be pro abortion or
anti-abortion,
right.
And there's no middle ground.
There's no middle ground. It's like, how the hell if you live your life truly believing in that philosophy, you're a lunatic. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not arguing with you.
I don't know. That's just
right?
my 2 cents.
So I mean, look, I'm not a fan of abortion, but look, there are the exceptions I get. It's just that's a tough one too. I mean, and Trump is kind of a moderate on that, right? He is not a hardcore. I am going to ban. That's what they're trying. Like Biden was trying to paint him as he gets into office, he's going to just completely universally ban abortion. Mm-hmm. And that's not what Trump's going to do. Yeah. Absolutely, positively not what he's going to do. He's going to do exactly what happened. He was going to push it back to the states and just kind of wipe his hands from it and say, look, it's not for me to make that decision. It's for all the people to make the decision. Vote, in your local elections, and you make the decision, right? And obviously in conservative states, it's likely to be, it's going to be much harder to get one. And in liberal states, it's going to be incredibly easy to get one. And that's the choices people make.
So are you able to, if I live in Pennsylvania, and if a girl lives in Pennsylvania, rather, and she, let's just say you can't get one here, but you can get one in Ohio, which is one state over. Can you, as a Pennsylvania resident, can you drive to Ohio and get one?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
So California will do abortions all day long, 24/7.
Okay, gotcha.
New York will do abortions all day long, 24/7.
So it's just a matter of commuting to the states that do it.
Correct.
I don't know. Yeah, like I said, I'll end it with this, the political debate. I'm curious to see the future. I think they were mentioning about doing another one.
It'll never happen.
You don't think so?
No.
I thought they said that, but maybe not. They won't agree.
I mean, obviously the big talk right now is if Biden even runs. I mean, and they replace him. So
they were saying with like Michelle Obama or something like that.
So I look. I mean, again, because I follow podcasts, I've heard varying opinions on that. I mean, she is the easiest for the Democrats to slot in and replace him because they have some other issues too, right? Because with Kamala Harris as the VP, they in theory can't slot like Gavin Newsom or somebody in because they don't want to like replace him with a white male and step over him. It's just it's so fucked up how how much bullshit there is for that. So I mean, Michelle Obama is a good fit, and Hillary is obviously another potential fit that they're talking about. But Biden's got an ego, and apparently he doesn't want to step away. And but I can't imagine he would do. I mean, if he's still
because he's still around.
Because look how his performance was, right? I mean, all of the liberal media turned on him. Did you watch any? I mean, if you watch any of the liberal media, including like The View, right? They were like, "Yeah, he's got to go. He's got to go."
Right,
like
really?
Everybody, it was like, "Oh my god!"
I saw people reacting to it on
Watch
X,
these people
and
eat
then
themselves.
They were just like, "Biden's about to pass out on the stage." These people on Twitter were saying that.
Bad.
But yeah, man, I was curious to see it. I wanted to tune in. I'll be checking out some more of the stuff coming forward. But yeah, that was like my real first take or first real
It's funny. I mean,
insight to the whole bit. You know what I mean?
You know, as you continue in the working world, and then you buy a house, and then you have kids, and you get older, right? Generally speaking, as you get older, and you have more money coming in and stuff like that, it becomes more important to you.
Oh, when I look at my paychecks every month, and I
know.
See,
so this is the funny thing, right? I'm like Noah and Natalie, even you, right? Yeah. I get why you don't care, right? It's not. I mean, it wasn't my thing either when I was young. I shouldn't say that. I was kind of like Alex P. Keaton, right? So my dad was a union guy, and he was a heavy Democrat, and I was always a conservative Republican, love Reagan, right? So I remember I used to argue with my dad when I was young. So I'm a kind of the outlier. But generally speaking, I get it. I get why it's not. I think
it's
out of sight, out of mind. But as you start to feel that pain, guess what? You're going to become more and more involved, and you'll have an opinion, and you'll be like, yeah, I get it now.
Yeah, cool. Well, I'm glad we actually had that conversation because we never really had like a.
Yeah, we're always afraid to talk about it because it's just such a horseshit.
Well,
but
I wouldn't say I'm afraid. I just don't know enough. Like I said, you could probably even clearly see it in some of the early discussion that I just don't have enough backing. You know what I'm saying? At this point. So it's just. Yeah. It's just a lack. Like if you are exposed to it more and you see it so much, you probably could just remember those examples of stuff. So that's all. But speaking of things as you get older, I picked up some clubs over the week.
Golf,
baby.
Golf.
Getting into it. And it was funny, man. Like, for the people who do golf and the people who don't, and I was one of the few people before, just like, man, that stuff's boring as anything. It's so stupid. You're chasing around a little ball all day.
It's fun.
What the hell? Yeah. Then you get out there, you swing, and then I was telling Joe before we started, you hit a ball and it's butter smooth.
Yeah, perfection.
You hit it, it doesn't dogleg, it just goes straight in the air, all the way down, exactly kind of as it was intended, like with your driver or whatever, and it just is so good.
Yep.
And then you get back up there and you swing it again, and you have to go walk
take a chunk
10
of
feet.
Sod with you. Yeah.
You walk 10 feet in front of you, pick your ball back up, and put it back on the tee. And you're like, Jesus, God, I was just doing so well, and now I'm sucking ass.
It is a very humbling game.
Yeah, and it was something that I wanted to try it. I feel like I'm not someone who's just gonna shit on things before at least trying it once, but. I mean, besides a couple of things, like I'll never do like cave diving. I'll never go diving, that type of stuff. But like that was something I wanted to try, and actually it's a fun thing to get into. I mean, it was something that I wouldn't expect, but yeah, I don't know. You've been playing for a little bit, or you've got it. You were more into it.
I very rarely play golf now because it's just nobody wants to do it anymore because it's a 6-hour commitment. I mean, if you go out and play a full 18. Mm-hmm. Even if it's an empty course and there's nobody in front of you, you're probably still, and you have a good pace.
Like 4 hours?
You're 4.5 hours. Generally speaking, on a weekend, right? You're probably pushing over 5 hours. No one wants to do it anymore, even in business, right? For me, like I used to play all of the time from like, the late 90s and the early 2000s. It was kind of how business got done. And there was a period of time where I was playing 3 times a week.
Wow.
Because that's just how business got done. Yeah. And then, I don't know when it changed. It might have been when the bubble burst in 2003 maybe or whatever. I remember there was kind of this inflection point where no one wanted to golf anymore.
Yeah, strange.
And it never really came back. So I get out for it. Customers or partners will have these events, and so if I'm lucky, I play maybe once or twice a year. It's all Topgolf now, right? People just want to go to Topgolf. They want to eat. They want to drink. They want to go swing the club for 10 minutes.
Topgolf is a big
oh my God! I mean,
client of ours, though.
Those places are packed
because they got the heaters.
Oh
above
yeah,
the thing.
Yeah.
They're a big client. But golf's been picking up. I wanted to pick something up that was also something you could do solo, but you could also do with friends. So it's like. It's a good mix of the both because you could hit the range and you could, like you said, go to Topgolf, or you could even go to like golf courses and they'll oftentimes have a range. You could kill, 30, 45 minutes just smacking the shit out of the ball and not really regarding anything. You don't have to worry about how you're dressed. You just go after work. Like I keep them in my trunk now, and if that's the case, that's the case. But it's also something like you said, you could go with 3 other buddies or another buddy and just absolutely,
Yeah, I mean, it's a good time, right?
It's a great time. I actually,
but
I love
it is a humbling game. You're like, oh yeah, I'm getting good at this, and then boom, it just oh my god, it's awful. That's the difference. Like I said, that's the difference between a good. Did it really just die?
No. I was gonna say, shout out to my guy, my coworker Scott. He played in a tournament on Friday, but this guy's like a pro amateur golf. His lowest game ever, he told me, was like 63. Like,
yeah, that's
he's
seriously legit.
He's playing for like He played for like $6,000 on Friday with a partner, but he has like 3 hole-in-ones. Like, guy's incredible. He's like one step below like the pros, bro. He's like incredible. But yeah, man.
It's funny because I mean, I've obviously played a lot of golf, and I am probably a 30 freaking handicap, right? Terrible, but like I think at my peak, I actually could shoot legitimately. I
like
could
on a full
probably
18?
shoot low 90s.
Yeah.
And that's legitimate. That's
not moving the ball.
Like, yeah,
nothing.
that was in my peak. Now, I mean, shit. Like I said, it would just be awful.
They say that most golfers, they say like 90% of golfers can't shoot below. Or 90% of amateurs can't shoot below 100.
I mean, a lot of people will pick up balls or kick them or fluff the lies. Like if you play legit golf,
like a true round of golf,
like a true round of golf where you are, you keep score. I bet you there's probably 95% of this world couldn't shoot under 100 on any day.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, that's a good stat.
Yeah,
though. Because sometimes the ball is like, you're behind a tree. And it's like,
and most people will just kick it out and hit it, right?
Like, 5 yards to the right.
Okay, well, that kick just cost you a penalty stroke. And, so, I mean, it's like, if you played a legitimate round of golf, forget it.
Yeah. I think it's something that if you are knocking it, at least try it once and see if you like it.
So, I mean, the U.S. Open was just at Pinehurst #2 down in North Carolina, and I've actually played there once. And I think I shot a 99 there.
Wow.
Now, obviously, I'm not playing from the same tees they are.
Yeah.
Right. But that course is just effing hard. Oh my god.
When you were playing, there's like 3 different levels, right? There's like the blue, the yellow, and the white. You were going off the white,
the middle one, whatever the regular men's tees. I was never ever. I never played the blacks or
going back.
No. Screw that. I don't have any distance. I mean, Yeah, I mean, even when I was playing really well, if I could drive maybe 210 yards or something like that, that would be about it.
Were you were more like surgical in the middle or like a putter type of guy? Or something?
I wouldn't call it surgical either. I think it's just spray it and hope it doesn't kind of go into a hazard, and then spray it again. I mean, it's but a little tighter, and then it gets wild and crazy. But
fair enough.
Okay. I mean, it's it's a good game. You have to play. It's just like every sport. I'm guessing you have to play and practice all the time.
It's so funny too. Everyone has their own quirks, or they have their own like style. So like my buddy, like I don't lock my pinky and my pointer finger. I just keep mine like straight on top of each other, and then I'll line up my like wrist and my 2 thumbs just going straight one direction. My buddy, he plays. We were shooting at the range yesterday. He'll tie his 2 fingers together, twist his wrist in a strong position, and he's more fundamentally sound than I am, and that's probably why he's a little bit more consistent on his stuff. But it just feels so uncomfortable. Then you're like in your head, like I gotta work on not moving my front foot.
You overthink it,
and you're changing too much at too small.
That's the worst. I mean, so overthinking it is where it kills you.
Yeah, you're changing too much too soon, and you're just like, now my positioning my feet. So man, it's terrible. It gets into your head, but that's kind of it.
Totally great game though.
Yeah, man. So what else happened? This is the last thing about me, and then we'll kind of go to do something else. We picked up the pistol together. Me, you, and Noah.
Yes, you joined the Second Amendment Club. Yeah,
I know. I went to the sheriff's office yesterday.
Oh, did you? So you went to get your concealed carry?
I went to go get my concealed carry. I don't know if that would matter or say it publicly or not.
I don't care. No, I mean, so that wasn't any big issue, right? You just fill out the form and give them your driver's license, and boom, right?
It was surprisingly easy. Like, it's a little bit intimidating walking into his sheriff.
They changed it. I don't know when, because when I very first got mine, it was probably, I guess when I first got mine was like in the late 90s. You actually at the time when you filled it out, you actually had to have your doctor. You had to go to a doctor and have him sign that you're not insane or you have no mental issues, right?
Wow.
And you actually had to have a doctor sign it, and you also had to put down 3 references.
I put down 2.
And I think that they actually used to call and check the references, right? So there was a lot more to it. Now it's basically just fill out a form.
That's kind of crazy because, I mean,
did you actually get the card right away, or do they mail it to you?
No, they're gonna mail it. So basically, what happened was you walk into a sheriff's office, which could be kind of intimidating in itself, but you walk in there, and then he was just like, he's like, "How could I help you?" And I was just like, "I'm here for my concealed carry." He's like, "Great." Put the papers down, slid them across, waited. There was not a single soul in there besides me and the guy.
Hardly ever is.
And he was like, that'd be $20. Gave him a $20 bill. Took my picture on a Logitech
camera,
top cam there, and it was like
sign your digital
signature. And I was in and out. And if it was 10 minutes, that would be overkill. It was literally that quick. So the next thing you do is so after you get your Pennsylvania one is take a class for the Utah carry. Concealed carry, because that does multiple states, right?
Yeah, the Utah one will give you pretty much all except for the communist states.
Wait, so so you're saying for the Utah one, I don't have to go to Utah, right?
No. It's just, I mean, they basically, it's probably just a money grab for them. But I mean, you have to actually go through like a 2-hour class. And they have people that are certified to train it that can give it, right down in Avondale or whatever, right? So you go, you pay like $100, and then you get a Utah carry permit that looks exactly like the one you'll get. It's just like a driver's license. But that one has reciprocation with, I don't know, it's like 40 states.
Wow.
It's all the states except for, it's not California, it's not Illinois, it's not New York, it's not Maryland, it's not like Connecticut and Massachusetts, all the communist states, right? So, I mean, but it's just nice to have. That way, if you travel and you take it with you, or, you're driving
across state lines.
Yeah, because like for here, right, we're 10 minutes from Maryland, and you go into Maryland, and guess what? Or New Jersey, right? Even worse. You take your gun and you actually have it on you, and you cross the river. You're like, oh shit! And then
so the Utah one kind of protects you.
You're in a world of hurt. It doesn't for New Jersey. I don't think it does for Maryland, but like it.
This is interesting. So
the rules have changed so much, and a lot of states have gone to constitutional carry, which means you don't need jack shit. You can do whatever the hell you want. But like if you go into Ohio, I just did it because at the time it seemed like the thing to do.
Yeah, I'll do it when I get my other one. I'll have to look into that a little bit more. But yeah, we went shooting right after I got it, like probably a couple days or.
I know.
Last week or a day after, I think it was like the next day.
I FaceTime, or we FaceTime you to see hey, how'd it go? And you're like in your room, like with it disassembled, and you're cleaning it. I'm like, oh my God, he just got the damn thing. It doesn't need to be cleaned that soon.
No, man.
You were like disassembling it and trying to learn all the parts. And I
love to get to the bottom of it. So what makes a gun is truly 4 parts, and it's insane. So you take it apart and. Well, let's go back further. So when we shot it, John, my buddy John, he has a Glock 19, a 5th generation. I have the SIG P365, and both guns are basically cut from the same cloth. Like they're literally identical, like the run of the mill. Yeah, no, I'm saying kind of gun. But he shot mine, and he was like absolutely in love with it. He was like,
that
dude,
gun has got such a great feel.
Well, we got to go soon because let me tell you, dude, like. It shot like incredibly, like smooth, like everything was perfect. I couldn't have been happier. You were actually the one that recommended me that model because I was going to go and get the comp version, which has a built-in compensator.
Yeah.
And you were like, check out the TAC Ops because it has the XL slide versus the compensator, which makes a world of a difference. Oh, I never shot the comp, but makes a world of the difference as far as recoil is concerned. So that was a big ups to you for recommending that specific model. After we shot it, we shot probably 80 rounds of that. We went to, we went to the AR range, and you're just kind of shoulder to shoulder with a bunch of guys. It wasn't like the situation where we had last time. It was very laid back, and we were shooting his 308 and the 5.56 AR-15. Dude, we shot he shot more of the 308 than I did, but dude, that thing will hurt your shoulder. Like I was surprised because. I was like, dude, this as people say, it's like kicks like a mule. Man, we shot probably 25 rounds each, or he probably shot 30.
308 is not a plinking round.
No,
right?
no. So we were shooting it, and he was like, dude, these rounds are like $1.15 each.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God. Man, my shoulder was hurting for like 2 or 3 days afterwards. I was like, dude, this thing's kicking. The 5.56, I think, is going to be my next purchase later down the road because that gun's just smooth, butter, readily available.
Well, as you already know, right? You can spend
a lot of money.
You can spend $500. You can spend $3,000-$4,000 without even thinking, right? And it's all in between.
Everything's in between. And good, better, best, as they would say.
Yeah.
And, no, but so going back to the pistol thing.
Get the Daniel defense.
This guy.
M4,
no, that thing was crazy. But no, so you're supposed to clean it after most of your time shooting. And I was just like, man, I gotta take this thing apart. Took it apart. It's 4 parts. You got the top, the spring, the slide, and the actual gun itself, which is classified, the bottom part. Man, that was so dope just to take it apart. We did like a deep clean. I have like a spraying kit. We cleaned the whole thing from top to bottom, and it's just cool to see how it kind of all ties into each other and stuff.
It was so funny though. I was like, oh my God, he took it apart. First day. I'm like, that's rock star material right there. That's it though. It's good to learn.
It was a blast. Yeah, no, I definitely want you to try it out because I think you're going to like it.
Yeah.
You're going to rage about it.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to try it because I'll probably like it. But yeah, I have to get out because I haven't even shot my Ronin yet. So, I mean.
Yeah, that thing was cool. I saw it. Now, do you have the... There's a case that I saw. Is yours just a gun case or is it a system case, like a mag and a gun case? The holster, I'm sorry. Rather.
Oh, no. Mine's just a holster. A holster? Yeah, I don't have one that can carry additional magazines. I mean, honestly, for me, if I have to do a mag swap, I'm probably fucking dead anyway, right? I mean,
yeah, I got what you're saying.
I mean, yours is awesome because it's got that flared mag well. So I mean, swapping magazines is probably a lot easier too. But no. Getting over the hump of just even carrying a freaking gun it's a lot. Yeah. It takes some getting used to because I mean, I guarantee you're not going to want to carry it chambered when you first do it. You're gonna be like, oh, no, this is fucking crazy.
Well, yeah. So that was the thing. Like mine. Like the safe, there's like
yours doesn't have a safety.
It doesn't have a safety. So what I'm thinking is I just put
you might
it
have
in.
You might have the trigger might be it's like a split trigger. I forgot.
I don't think it is. I think so. What you do is you put the mag in, but you don't.
Oh, maybe that's the reason. So maybe because remember when I couldn't slide the rack with the magazine in, which I was like, what the hell's the deal here?
Built-in safety, but
all right.
But now you can though, I think.
It broke in or whatever?
I think it broke in. Okay. Yeah. But so I think what you have to do is you just put the mag in and you don't
manufacture, most of the larger manufacturers will manufacture a gun with or without a safety. Yeah. Right? Because if you're concealed carrying, and in theory, you don't want the safety on because, you're in a situation where you need to react immediately. It should be loaded and ready to go. Which when you're new, that's a scary super thought. Hard to get over.
That's a scary thought.
I'm not there, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a scary thought.
It freaks me out the concept that I'm carrying, especially an appendix, right, which is where you're probably going to learn to carry, and you're like, yeah, okay, this is kind of crazy. So I mean, look, it's like playing golf. The more you do it, the more you'll get comfortable with it, and it'll be secondhand nature after a while. But yeah, if you don't do it. You don't carry it all the time. Like I hardly ever carry because like why, right? I mean, I say why, and of course that's the whole point of it, right? You never know. You want it when you need it, but I'm like, I don't carry enough, and when I do, it's very uncomfortable, and you're on pins and needles, right? I
would say the only time really
there's a recurring theme here. Like my motorcycle, I'm a chicken shit. My gun carrying, I'm a chicken shit. Man, I'm a freaking pansy, man.
No. I think you're smart.
Holy shit! Is that what it is? Maybe it's adult intelligence. Yeah. I mean, I think I'm a chicken shit.
What it is like if we're going down to like Philadelphia or something like that. Yeah, you did. We'll talk about that. And I'm going down to Philadelphia, right? Or like I'm going somewhere where it's like, all right, there's a lot of crime going down. I'm bringing that shit with me. I don't care. But like if I'm going to Giant. Like in theory, you should carry it no matter what. But
and the reality is that's probably what you'll end up needing.
Exactly,
right?
It's like in Giant, you're like in getting milk or something like that, and all of a sudden you just hear people screaming. You're like, well, I'm fucking cooked. So
yeah,
I don't
that's
know.
where you need it, right? It's not I don't know, man.
But long story short, that's kind of where we're at. It was a great purchase. So shout out to Sig.
Man,
we're trying to get.
I'm looking at this GoPro and it's still running, but man, the battery's already like 75% killed. That's crazy.
What are we at as far as timing?
43 minutes. So
it's not terrible.
For all that talk about not having anything to talk about, we talked.
But shout out to Sig. Hopefully they send us some stuff. We can get into reviews.
Yes, yeah. We have to actually go. We should start doing product reviews.
I know. I was telling you that. I went to Buffalo last week and I drove up there. It was like 6-hour drive. I didn't want to stay in the hotel super long, so I just drove up there, slept, and then went to the meeting next day. But during that time when I was in the hotel, I was texting Joe like, man, we got to get into reviews, and we talk about this for Taylor's old time. But you see these guys that get ARs or anything. It doesn't even have to be guns, but just sticking on the topic of like they'll get like a full loaded, kitted out gun, custom rails, custom insides, custom trigger for everything's custom. You're rocking like a $3,000 setup, and it's like, thanks to my partners over at such and such for sending over this over. It's like, not to say bias.
Look, you got to earn that. It's not like that just happens.
But some of the channels, like they're not getting killer views. Like they're not getting millions of views. They're getting, and we don't have any room to talk. Please do not get it twisted. But they're getting like tens of thousands of views. You know what I mean? It's like, that's so doable considering like when I bought my gun.
Reviews are the easiest way to bang up your numbers, man. Like,
well, yeah, it's what everyone does. Like when I bought that gun, I was looking at like thousands of views, probably myself.
Obviously I spend a lot of time looking at reviews, and there are bad reviews and there are really good high quality reviews. And so the problem is, doing reviews is easy. Anybody could do it, but man, some of them, the production quality of some of them is really amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something we got to get into. But kind of shifting gears, no pun intended. How was driving the
So I went out on the motorcycle today for the first time.
He did it because we're getting on the podcast, by the way.
No, I was trying to put a QuadLock on, and I'm actually returning it because it doesn't fit really well. QuadLock is a mount for the motorcycle, for the phone. You snap it in.
Cool.
But it didn't work, so I'm going to return it. But that was the reason why I was on, and I did want to get out. So I literally just drove it around my cul-de-sac, right? I just kind of never got it out of first gear, but I was on it.
And is it meant to go slow?
It is absolutely not meant to go slow. So anything sub like 12 miles an hour, man, the transmission does not like being slow.
Imagine, yeah.
And the damn thing, well, it's like an 89, it's like a 90-degree day. It needs airflow, right? It's air cooled.
Super hot. Yeah, super hot day.
It didn't take long for it to start to, the fan to kick in and it to hit like 215 degrees. And I'm like, okay, yeah, it's clear that me putzing around a parking lot in this in the summer is probably not a good idea.
Not the most economical.
It needs to be driven. Look, it's everything I expected. I got on it and I was like, holy shit, I am freaking green. It's going to be ugly when I starting off, and I finally got the frame slide and the axle slide. So now if I drop it, it'll limit the damage. But I'm like,
well, that's one of the things.
This is gonna be tough.
That was one of the things we were talking about too, driving to go to pick up the gun, because it was more up in like Royal, Pennsylvania, or Lancaster, Pennsylvania, New Holland. Yeah, more like what do you call that? Like spread it out.
Rural Lancaster County.
And everything was spread out, very windy turns. And one of the things that you mentioned was like, oh, I couldn't imagine going around this turn on the bike.
Oh, no, yeah.
You're like, oh, I couldn't imagine going around this
turn.
Those
are like 90-degree turns, literally 90-degree turns.
You're going like completely like making an L shape.
Yeah, I was like, oh, yeah, no. No, I was okay. I just kind of doing circles in the stuff. It was okay. It's like golf and it's like firearms. Yeah. You got to do it, and then you get better at it and you get more comfortable with it, and it'll come with time. I just knew that like starting off, I was like, oh man, I am going to look like a freaking tool on this bike.
You got to put them all together now. You got to carry a gun.
Yeah, carry a bike and clubs on my motorcycle. Yeah.
And just got to go knees deep into it.
It's funny. I was just like, oh man. But it's a start. I knew I was going to be taking baby steps, and today was kind of the first baby steps, and I'm like, okay, at least I can get on it and I can drive it in a circle. So at 15 miles an hour, so now it's just a matter of kind of just stepping it up. I mean,
my buddy Wade, I told you, he picked up the 450, I believe it was. It's a Honda. If I'm not mistaken, but it might not be a Honda. I don't know what it. I think it is a Honda. It's red. It's Honda, right?
Yeah, CBR.
I think so. So he got that, and it was a dirt bike, but it's also street legal, and that's a little bit easier to drive than your Ducati because at least you could practice like in like a field of sorts or something. Like you could like get training, fall in the grass.
I mean, look, the hardest thing about motorcycles is the clutch, and that is once you kind of master the clutch and get that all figured out, it becomes fairly seamless. It's just that for all of us who drive automatic vehicles, right? It's just so unnatural.
A lost art there.
Yeah, so I mean that's the biggest issue, right? And I knew it. I mean, I knew that kind of going back and just remembering how to work a clutch is the hardest part. And so I was out in the park driveway, like seeing how much I could get away with. Like, would it actually stall or would it creep start? And it actually the first time it creep started, like I just let go of the clutch very slowly and then it went.
Yeah,
I never actually even hit the throttle, which usually is an instant stall. And I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. That's kind of nice. I mean, and then, of course, the next time I did the exact same thing and it stalled almost instantly. So I was like, okay, right, I got to, I'll work through this.
There's probably a bunch of, like, things that are just so unique to that bike, probably, that it's probably a lot different than riding anything that you're probably used to.
There's shit on that I'll never, ever use. I mean, it's got launch control.
Like a bunch of stuff.
I mean, so you can, like, basically just do the tire spin out and then just launch it and it'll make sure you think. But it's also got all the safety features we talked about last time, which is the reason why I really wanted it, right?
Yeah. It's very, like, technologically advanced, I would say, too.
Yeah.
That one's pretty, like, because looking at it after the podcast, I walked down there with him. And it's got a lot.
So I mean, the other
There's
thing
a lot
is
of stuff
like
on it.
The quick shift system, right? Which is you can shift the gears clutchless, but the problem is you need to actually be moving and going at a pretty good pace before that kicks in. And like so, I was like thinking to myself, I'm curious to see if I can shift it into like first gear without ever touching the clutch, and you can't. Like it instantly stalls, right? You have to be moving initially, and then I guess there's a certain RPM range where you can start to do the quick shifting.
Which sounds like the green zone of like, I could go to that.
So I mean, once you get past, in the second gear or whatever, then I guess you can start shifting up and down without having to work the clutch. But when you stop or when you're low, you gotta hit the clutch. And of course, I've got the brake and the clutch hooded because I'm like, waiting for the world to end and. I'm just like, oh God. Plus, I also the thing I never realized is, I'm like the last time I had a bike, I was in a lot better shape, like working out and lifting weights.
Is it a heavy bike? I didn't really recognize.
It's only. I mean, it's not a heavy bike, but it's still fully loaded up. It's 380 pounds, right? So it's a lot. That
is a lot of bike.
So I'm like thinking to myself, oh wow, holy shit! This 18 years of like not being on a bike and I don't lift weights anymore is going to come back and kick me in the ass too. So I have to be more careful about that kind of shit. I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't even think about that. So I'm like, okay, this is I don't even know. I'm actually afraid to actually drop it and try and pick the damn thing up. I'm like, ooh, this could be harder than it looks.
And kind of. Turning the whole podcast full circle, it's just about actually getting out there and doing it. And, I think that's the biggest hump is just getting out there and doing it, Joe, if I'm being completely honest with you.
I don't think there's any doubt about it, so I'm going to get out there and do it. Like we get out there and do the podcast and like we get out there and do our firearms and golf. Now we have to get out there and do some product reviews. Anybody want to hear a product review?
Yes, Magic... whatever the hell it's called,
Magic Root or what the hell was that? Magic.
Well, they're not paying us. They're not sending us nothing, so we're not talking about it right now.
Drink or mind enhancing drink or something like that.
Magic Mind.
Magic Mind.
Because exclusive mind.
Yeah. Well, so we send us a box and we'll
send us anything
we'll talk
from
about
anybody.
It. I mean, that's it. We have no viewers. Come on.
Well, apparently we do because my mom.
Don't go there.
No. No. One of her customers saw the podcast where we were talking about Hayden and talked to her about it, and she was like, "Hayden had a brain plasma," and I was like. I didn't know what to call it because I thought she called it. It's not a plasma for everyone who was wondering. It was a tumor. I said plasma because that's what my mom thought it was when Don't even go there. But apparently people do listen. One of her customers did. So
awesome.
there we go.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
There we go. So I misspoke. It's not a plasma. It's a tumor. Confirmed.
You know, we need to order some white T-shirts and use those as kind of tests for that press.
Yes, actually, when we get off here, we'll
maybe we can give those away on the podcast here.
Yeah, well, I also need to order some for work and some other shit, but that's part 2 off of here. I'll tell you about it. I need to order a bunch of stuff. I think we have to hit $500 for the long story short, we'll order this stuff, okay?
We'll save it for the next one. All right, we're on 53, so we could probably wrap it up.
Great pod. We didn't have anything going into it, but that's what consistency gets you guys. So.
That's true. You just kind of get into the groove and go.
Get thrown into the wolves. So, all right, cool.
Awesome.
71 in the bag.
Thanks
72.
all.
We're going to go after it.
Peace out.
See ya.
Later. And the GoPro made it. 2% left on that battery. We're still on, but
hit the end.
I know. I'm like, should we wait until it dies? Just to kind of, it's like at 2%. It's about to croak. All right, later, all.